What was it like when you did Rolex?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So the Rolex in the Corvette, that was really the first time I drove somebody else's car. So I've been driving my dad's cars. There's no job security.
Yeah.
I always felt bad about that because I would watch. I was friends with these other drivers, and I'm watching them like work every day trying to like keep their job, right? And I'm like, well, I don't have that problem. I don't have to worry about that. And when I went to drive the Corvette, I didn't like it. I didn't like that feeling that, man, if I break this, it's not mine. It's not. I don't have to go get my butt chewed by Dad.
Yeah.
This belongs to all these people that I don't even know. I'm sharing this car with drivers I don't really know. Of course, Andy Pilgrim and Collins, they were amazing. And me and Andy are super great friends even today.
Yeah.
But it was different, man. It was really different. And
Yeah. I mean, that car was, I think that guys still talk about those old GT1 cars.
Yeah.
Like, for us, like, for the car that I drive compared to what I drive, like, they had huge horsepower and, like, big tires, big brakes. And it was impressive.
Yeah, we went to Sebring. I'd never been there.
That's a different animal, isn't it?
They were going to test. We're going to drive the car, get used to it. So we go, and me and Dad, and I was, every time I got in the car, I was just like, got to be top of the board,
Yeah.
And Dad was much smarter, and he's like, I'm going to just cruise. I'm going to learn. I'm going to experience, and I'm going to drive this car all day and soak up, right? And he never pushed. And, I mean, I was out there. First time I got on the track, I didn't know the tires were as tough as they were.
The cold tires, yeah.
So for a lap and a half, this thing's like on ice.
Yeah.
And our Cup cars, man, the best time is right away.
Yeah.
As soon as you hit the track, you've got massive grip, and it just starts to tail off from there. And these cars, it comes in over time, and I didn't know that. They could tell you that, and I still wouldn't understand it, right? I couldn't respect it.
Yeah.
I get out there, and I throttled up out of 3, headed toward the bridge, and backed it into the bridge.
Oh, gosh.
Dude, I felt like I was going 35 miles an hour.
You probably were.
And when
That's crazy.
When it turned around, it never slowed down. And it goes, and I'm like, I've just
first lap.
Yeah, I just destroyed it.
Oh.
Destroyed this car. Backed it all the way into the seat. And I get out, and Dad's gonna be so embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit! I've told this story before, but
it's still nerve-wracking to hear it.
My broadcast team, my broadcast brain always says every time you tell that you got a new audience. So I go over to the pits, and this, but they come out of this hauler with these giant black bags, zipper,
bodywork. Yeah.
I'm like, what's in the bags? They're huge. They're big as this table. And they unzip them, and there's a brand new car. And they're like, clip, 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 clip. Okay, 15 minutes. They're like,
that's impressive.
Hop back in. I'm like, you sure you want me to get that? I'm just the one that tore it up. You don't want Dad to go and a couple other guys to drive it, and maybe I need to sit here and think about what I did, like I'm, being punished.
Think about the decisions in your life.
Yeah. They're like, no, go. And, Dad's not standing there going, hell no, sit your ass down. Think about what you did.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I hopped back in there and got back to it, man. But it was a great day. And we went to the race. Everything went great in the race. Testing went, practice went, everything uneventful for the most part. Funniest story, I used to smoke cigarettes. I hid it from everybody. I thought I was hiding it from everybody. But I smoked a lot, and especially when I play video games or drive a car. Right, just one after the other. And so 2001, this is probably, I'm 24, 26, 20.
Oh, wow.
27, something like it. I don't know.
27.
Mid-20s.
Yeah.
So Dad had seen my ashtray in the house. Never smoked around him. I knew that'd get me an ass whooping. He hated it. I knew he hated it from how he reacted around other people that did it. But he walked in the house, and I couldn't get it hid, right? And so he's seen it before. So he kind of knew that I was smoking, didn't know how much. But anyways, I'd never done it in front of him. Never seen me with a cigarette. Never seen me with a pack of cigarettes, right? And so I'd never drove a race. I always worn an open face helmet, right? So we got full face helmets. The helmet's right there, that yellow one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So we got the clip in for the drink, right? The electric drink. I've always just taped the tube, and no electricity pumps.
Yeah.
And I had that thing, and we're getting ready to. I got a friend with me in the bus. I'm in my bus. We're getting ready to go out. Dad's like, my friend's my PR guy. He's like, hey, your dad wants you to come to pit road. I'm like, man, I'm not getting in the car till another 5 hours. He's like,
this is during the race?
Before the race started. He's like, he wants you to come to pit road for a picture on the grid. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll go. And so we're getting ready to go, and he's like, yeah, they're gonna come by and pick us up on the golf cart. And I'm like, okay. And I'm nervous, right? So I'm pushing out all this nervous energy, right? And so I'm standing in my bus, and I put that helmet on, and I stuck a cigarette in that little thing where the drink goes.
No way.
And I'm standing right at the door of the steps, and I'm doing this dance. I'm like, hey, look at me. Woo, look at me, man. Look at the cigarette. You can smoke.
No way.
Yeah.
Threw the drink bottle on the front.
In there.
Just you stuck a cigarette in there?
Yes, it fits right in there.
I mean, why don't I know that?
I don't think that's got to be the only time that's ever happened.
Not lit. It's just, I've just stuck a cigarette in there. I'm like, check it out, man. You can smoke wearing this helmet to my buddy. Right in that moment,
I'm sweating now.
the dad opens the door.
Oh my god.
He looks straight up in there at me, and I turn, and I'm like, and I've got a helmet on with a cigarette sticking out of it. And we're getting ready to start the 24 Hours of Daytona. This Corvette thing, right? It's a big day.
What'd you say? Surprise!
He slammed the door. He slams the door shut.
Oh my
My
God!
freaking eyes were as big as sand dollars, and I pull this helmet off and I set it down, and my buddy's like, "We better go." We go out, and the golf cart's sitting there, and Dad's sitting on the front of it. He's got the driver, and he's steaming like smoke coming out of his ears. He won't even look at me. We sit on the back, and we're riding in the infield of Daytona, heading toward the grid. And we go about 100 yards, and my buddy just starts snickering. And Dad turns around and goes, "Don't encourage him." I remember that. He was so mad.
That's so funny.
We get to the grid, and so much is going on. It kind of gets forgotten. We take a picture.
Oh my god.
So if we're keeping score at home,
your
dad said you're not ready for this. Yours said don't encourage him.
Yeah.
Daytona stories.
Mid race, right? Middle of the race, they gave us those. I had a broken shoulder blade from a wreck a year or two ago, and it always bothered me. Flying on airplanes and all kinds of stuff, I always had a bunch of pain in that shoulder. And we're racing the car, and my shoulder's killing me. And so they were like, "Hey, man, take this little electric thing." I'd never had one. You guys use them all the time now. You see them all the time where that you can strap these little diodes, little cords to you, and you could turn this little thing up, and it's like a sense pulses. It pulses, but it's an electrical current.
It's a TENS unit. TENS unit.
Yeah, and it makes your muscles flex, right? And so I'm like messing with that thing. I'm like, wow, that's too much. That's too high. I'm like, God, this thing goes really high. Like it's way. It shouldn't go that high. And so I take it off, and me and my buddy in the bus, I'm like, dude, check this out. And so I put it on his hand, and on the back side of his hands, right at his knuckles, and I just wrapped that thing up, and it tried to bend his fingers back.
Man, oh my god!
His fingers shrunk up, like that, and he yanked it off as fast as he could. He was so mad at me.
Yeah,
because I did that. I was such a jerk. But
you did a lot of relationship.
I mean,
building.
the race. It's like midnight. The race is
race,
going on, and we're in here.
Hilarious.
We're in here goofing off like a couple of idiots. And they're like, "Hey, you want a massage?" I'm like, "Nah." We're in here playing.
All them people that
you
said
need
you
to
never
sleep.
take it.
I can't sleep. How do you sleep?
That's true. The first time you do it, it is like that. Like,
you cannot sleep.
What's the
They're
point
like, okay, go chill. You're good for about 6 hours, and you're laying there, and you're like, man, this is amazing.
Jeez. Yeah, I was going to say, all those people that tell you that you never took your career too seriously, I don't know where they would come up with that.
It sounds like you did have a great time, though, with the cigarette thing and that.
I did.
Gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And then I went run again with Tony Stewart.
Yeah, in 2004.
This was this is a
in the Crawford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Crawford.
Until you led all the way to the
So that
I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Definitely took that experience a lot more serious, and I didn't have Dad or any sort of safety net or insulation, right? And so, and Tony, right? Got Tony, he's pushing you.
Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Tony Stewart and Andy Wallace. All those people, Crawfords were great. So I'm even more outside of my comfort zone driving someone else's car. But they were amazing. And I'll never forget this one. This is a little sad, but I cried when Dad lost races when I was a little kid. But I don't know. When that car broke and the race kind of ends, the amount of sorrow and sadness that I witnessed from that team and the Crawfords was I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
They were heartbroken.
Yeah. It wasn't it like 20 minutes to go or something?
Yeah, take us back. What happened exactly?
Well,
and y'all were winning?
Yeah, we were. So, there's when a part breaks on a car, every driver runs through their mind what they did inside that car that might have played a role in that. And so I pulled out on the racetrack in the middle of the night. I love driving at night. And I love driving in the rain. There's tons of rain for that. Oh, man. So we're running.
Actually, I remember that year.
They stopped it. While I was driving, they stopped the race. So it's pouring. And in the trench from the oval onto the road course at the end of pit road, man, everybody's hydroplaning. Yeah. I went straight down toward NASCAR 1, just spinning like this, leading the race, 2-lap lead or something, right? And I'm spinning backwards past the entrance to the infield. And I turn around, come back up the track and turn in, and that's when they threw the caution and the red flagged it. I was like, man, I can't. You can't go through that part of the track. You just can't. And so the cars turned into boats. But it was wild. Middle of the night, I come out of the infield section up on the NASCAR 1, and I throttled up like you do a million times, and I spun the car. And we just put tires on, and I spun the car up the hill, and then I'm on the banking, almost out to the wall, and I spun it down, and the right rear contacted with the apron. Like when the car spun down the hill, the first thing that gets to that, that really aggressive transition was the right rear tire. And so when the car brakes on the right rear suspension, the upper broke. I was like, shit. I think I might have been the one that
So it didn't break then.
No. Yeah. That was like 12 hours into the race. So later in the race it breaks, and I'm thinking, man, maybe my spin and hitting the bank, coming down.
It could be.
Well, I go to Tony and I said, man, I think I broke the car. I might have broke the car. I think I spun it. He said, I did the same exact thing. I was like, when did you do it? He's like, sometime in the middle of the night. I was like, really? I was like, okay, well, I'll share the blame. I was like, that makes me feel a little less like I screwed that was the only part about the 24-hour race that was hard for me was when you drive a car and you're the only driver and you make a mistake. I mean, yeah, you kind of. I had gotten used to dealing with that. Used to dealing with, facing my team after I've screwed up. Mm-hmm. But how do you face other drivers that you're sharing the car with? Because they know what driving's all about, right?
Yeah,
you ain't gonna hide. You can't hide from it.
But at the same time, like they know your position, like they can relate to it a little bit.
I guess.
Yeah, but Tony Stewart
certain ones. Yeah, maybe not Tony Stewart.
Well, I told Tony I was like, this is exactly how it spun, how it hit, and he's like, I did the damn same thing.
Wow.
And I was like, well, dang, maybe we both broke it. I don't know.
Man, yeah, but I mean, same situation. Like you could do that a million times and not break.
I know.
Like,
yeah. Well,
that's crazy.
It's cool to come close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a hell of a race.
It is crazy. Yeah, all the traffic and the conditions.
Yeah. Do you like racing the 24 hours more than the other events, or where does that rank in your enjoyment?
Yeah, I enjoy the Rolex 24 a lot. Like Le Mans is different. Le Mans is like a different sort of intensity. Like Daytona.
Le Mans scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's just different. I mean, once you learn the track, it's a normal track. But the way like those races are run, like in America, our races are run somewhat close to like a NASCAR race. You get a full course yellow, you get a wave by, those sorts of things. In those races, there's no like the full course yellow sometimes will come out, but they have 3 pace cars. So like if you're nose to tail with this guy and the pace car comes out between you, you get separated by a minute. Like you never get that minute back. And then sometimes there'll be a crash here and they'll freeze the race. So you'll just stay at the same distance. So like throughout like if you spin at Daytona and you lose 20 seconds, you're never going to get the yellow to make that back up. So like you always have to be pushing. You always have to be on.
Le Mans.
Yeah. And like Daytona, I enjoy because you're kind of pushing, but you can take less risk, save the car, and you know at the end there's going to be a race at the finish, and you need to have a good car for it.
Yeah.
And at least there's still going to be a bunch of cars racing.
One of the things that I've noticed about the Daytona race, and you've ran in it for many years, is when I drove in it, they were like, hey, man, you don't have to, in practice, we're all out there trying to run within a couple tenths of each other, and everybody's pushing as hard as hell. But in the race, really just run 80%. Don't even get close to trying to match those lap times or match that intensity or push. It's not. It's now qualifying laps every lap.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. So what I loved about going and running the race was that everybody, all the pros, the road course guys, sort of backed up to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel so inferior.
Yeah.
But now the talent level's higher across the board in every single car, and everybody runs hard as they can every single lap.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. Like I enjoy the history of the sport. So like I love how like you read the stories about how guys were saving cars, saving brakes, saving fuel, like easy on the downshift, short shifting.
Yeah.
And now it's like you just do whatever you want and the car's, a monster. It's never going to break a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And like I feel like in our form of racing in sports cars, like the technology has obviously evolved and it's cool and everyone's pushing, but I miss that aspect of like a driver has to treat the car well and make it to the end. Like
I have that same feeling with NASCAR too. We don't have that much more. There's no real tire conservation. There's no, cars aren't breaking engines and having the random failures that you used to have, and parts are bulletproof. Everything about the car.
The cool thing about NASCAR though, like, is the stories that you hear about like going in the gray of the rules, and like in sports car racing, it's a lot more black and white, and I like. The creativity of NASCAR.
The cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love talking about that on this show.
Like we've only I've experienced like 2 things in sports car racing, like where we've developed things that have then been like pulled off. But like those 2 things were like I love them because like they were so cool and how we came up with them and what they did, and like,
want to share?
Yeah, I can share them.
Sure.
Like the first one was kind of a funny story as well. Like when I was driving a Camaro, another weird kind of butt-related story.
Wow.
So the team took the car to the wind tunnel, and the exhaust kind of came around from the front out behind the driver door. And they're like, all right, we're going to cover the panel, cover the exhaust outlet, like all the way down, less drag, so it'll be better. I'm like, okay, great. We were racing in Barber Motorsports Park. It was hot, Alabama summer, and that car was a front engine, so already hot. And my teammate was Bill Lester. So he started the race. And he comes on the radio like 20 minutes in, like my sole of my shoe has melted off. Like it fell off. It was so hot. And I'm like, holy cow, I've got to get in there for 2 hours. So I jump in, and when I get in the seat, like, when you like sit on something and it feels like a sharp pain, like you sat on like a rock. So I sit and I'm like, shoot, like there's a piece of gravel in here. So I'm like driving down the pit lane trying to get it out before I like really buckle down. So I can't get it out, like sharp pain kind of goes away. I'm like, okay, I do the race. Like it was so hot, like I pushed the drink bottle button and it like burned all around my mouth. So it was like really hot. Get out after the race and I go to sit on the pit wall and I sit down. I'm like, whoa. And I had 2 red welts on my butt cheeks because all the heat had come in from the new awesome idea that we had to cover up the exhaust.
Yeah. I burnt my ass in a cup car one time because we had pipes. I guess the pipes came out both sides of this particular car, or pipes came out under the driver or something. I don't know what car it was, but the pipes and the bolt, the pipe touched the bolt.
Oh man.
And the bolt all this heat transferred through the metal into the bolt under my ass.
Yeah, same bolt.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the bolt burnt my ass.
Yeah, I had the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
remember
God!
that.
And I didn't know it.
It goes numb.
Yeah.
It
went numb.
You know it for like a second.
I was in the car and it wasn't hot. I strap in, start the race, run the race.
Oh, yeah.
And so the heat came in so slow. Once it got up to burning temperature, I didn't even know it. I get out and I got this like dent in my ass where it's burnt the meat off my butt.
Oh,
it was crazy. That hurt.
Jeez.
Burns are tough.
Oh yeah.
Burns take forever. All right, guys, I know a little bit about cars, so believe me when I tell you that Tire Pros, they're the real deal. They've got great people, great service, and they can take care of all your automotive maintenance needs. Plus, they're a sponsor of this show, so you know they got great taste in podcasts. So check out Tire Pros. Follow them on Facebook and tell them that I sent you.